this is where we're going to start with our CO2 build, the drawing here, or the design, I guess you would call it. So you have a couple options over here on the left. You have your X rail length, your Y rail length. Your X rail is a rail that goes over here, goes back and forth. I guess I'll hide this. Right click on here, hide it. Okay, and you hold down your right click and drag to move it around once you open up the design yourself. This little carriage here, this green carriage, moves back and forth on this rail. Okay, that rail is 800 millimeters. This carriage is about 40 millimeters. You're going to lose about 40 millimeters of travel on this rail. You're only going to get about 760 millimeters of use out of this rail. So even though it's an 800 millimeter rail, you only get 760 to actually travel on because the carriage takes up some of it. Same thing with the Y rails right here. So even though they're 450, you only get about 410 millimeters worth of travel. So let's bring a calculator in and take a look here. So if I have 800 millimeter X rails, let's see, 800 minus 40 equals 760. And then if I want to convert that to inches, that's 25.4. So I can divide this by 25.4, and that's 29.9 inches. So that's a lot of X travel. I can do the same thing with the Y here. So 410, right? 450 minus 40 divided by 25.4 is 16.14. So I'd basically get about 16 by 30 inches of cut area. So that's a lot of area to work with. Okay, the Glowforge you get about 11.5 by 19. The Muses by Full Spectrum you get about 12 by 20. You get a little over that, I think. I think it's a quote-unquote true 12 by 20, which is kind of cool. But over here, we can pick our size. So let's say I just wanted 20 inches, right? I just want to make a Glowforge sized piece. So I need about 11.5 by 19 or so. So I'm going to pull out my calculator here. So 20 inches, I guess 19 inches, 19 times 25.4, 482, okay, plus that extra 40 millimeters. So I need an X rail of about 550. So if I wanted a Glowforge size, I'd have to change my X rail here to 550. And let's see what that will actually give us. The rails only come in increments of 50 millimeters. I guess there's some places that'll do custom by the tens, but I think you pay extra for that. So you might as well get them in increments of 50. So 510 divided by 25.4. So yeah, you get there your 20 inches there on your X rail. And let's take a look at the Y rail. So what is it, 11.5? 11.5 on the Y in the Glowforge times 25.4. So 292. So you'd want a 350 rail. So that means 350, I guess 310, right? 310 divided by 25.4 equals 12.2. Okay. So if you guys don't want to buy a Glowforge, you want to spend way less, this will cost about, I don't know, anywhere from 800 to 1200 to build something this small, depending on what options you want. So this one has active cooling built in, so it actually has a radiator that can keep it running. Let's see what size tube you could fit. So if I select this rail here and this back plate, that is 850. I could actually fit a 50 watt tube, a full 50 watt tube in here if I wanted. I'd still probably go for 40 because they're cheaper. Okay, so if you wanted a Glowforge size, this is the size you do. Now I have a size restriction on mine, so I'm going to do 700 Right, this little one would fit in there, but I have room for more. By 450. Okay, I'm going to let that build. And now I have a bigger work area, but the outside, so this wall to this wall here is 1122. Oh, I got that a little short. I guess we're doing 800. And was looking for about 1222. Let's go a little bit bigger here. There we go, 1222. So let's bring our calculator in here. I've got 4 feet to work with. So 4 feet times 12 inches in a foot, 48 inches, right? Times 25.4 equals 1219. Okay. So we're just barely over, but that's all right. I'll take this. This will work. Okay. So 1219 here. And then front and back we have 599. Okay. Let's do some more math. 599 divided by 25.4, 23.58. Okay, and that leaves room for even the little screws to stick out. So there's plenty of room there. Okay. I'm going to go to my compass, click, oh, don't want to click that one, I wanted to click that one. There we go. Okay. Now we're back to it. So once you have your work size selected, now you need your controller type. I'm not going to go over how to use an ESP32 on this thing, but if you're brave, you can use an ESP32. It's fast. You can use it over Wi-Fi. There's a few cool things about using the ESP32. There's also a few downsides. I like the Arduino Nano. It's just straightforward, easy to use. Next thing we're going to look at is our cooling. And so some people have external cooling, like they have a fridge with a bucket of water in it. Some people just have a bucket of water, right? You don't actually need a radiator on this thing. I like to have a radiator because it's lower maintenance and it just works. Okay, but I can uncheck this and it'll take away the radiator spot. Right, I'm going to have to put screws in here. That way my lid doesn't close all the way. Now I can get airflow in here. And I probably prefer like the rear inner fans if I'm doing that. That way air flows from the tip of the lid out the back here. But I'm going to use a radiator on mine. Okay, there's a radiator, and these are my exhaust fans over here on the right side. So I'm going to have fans mounted to these holes. I'm also going to have my power coming in right here. Power, and then the switch right here. Hey, I can also do it on the rear if I wanted. But then I couldn't be flat against the wall. So turn off side, have the rear one. Alright, but I just want the rear. Or sorry, I just want the side so I can push the rear against it. And then the last thing we have to do is our laser diameter. So let's take a fast look at Amazon here. There we go. Amazon. Okay, so I'm going to type in, I don't know, 50 watt CO2. And I usually look at the 10 high stuff. There it is. There's a 10 high because they have a few options. So if you remember from this drawing, we have 850 millimeters that we can actually fit something in there. So I could fit this 50 watt 800 millimeter tube in there, right? Oh, I guess that's with the Glowforge size. Let's look at what we have now. We go back to this. The first mirror mounts on this rail. And then the tube could come all the way to this wall. We have 1100 millimeters here. That's a lot of space to play. Okay, we'll keep that in mind. 1100 millimeters. So I could actually fit a full 60 watt tube. Now, what we're looking for here is the diameter of the tube. Okay? 50 millimeters. So I believe they're all 50 millimeters here. Okay? Then we get up to this bigger guy, 1200. So this is sort of a fake pushing it, like you're not going to get your full time out of this tube, 60 watt tube. This tube, you're going to get 60 watts for a lot longer, but the beam's a little wider in these things. I'm not a fan of that. Like, the beam's about 3 millimeters coming out of all these. Okay, the beam's about 3.5 millimeters coming out of this. And then out of this one, the beam's about 5 millimeters. So the beam gets way wider. And so when you focus it, it's a little messier. It doesn't make as fine of a cut. But it's still a lot more energy. You can get through things that are thicker, and you can cut faster. So if you're cutting 1/4 inch or less, you probably won't ever notice. If you're going through like things that are 1 inch, yeah, you might notice beam thickness as you're trying to get through it. Anyways, I'm going to focus on the 80 watt here, or the 50 watt 800 millimeter tube. I think that's what I'm going to stick with on my build. And the important thing, 50 millimeter diameter for this tube. Okay? So I go back to my drawing here, and I make sure that my tube diameter is 50 millimeters. Cool, we're good. Okay, now that I have my sizes selected, now I got to start pulling out parts and cutting them out, milling them out, lasering them out. There's a lot of ways we can do this, and we'll go over that in the next video. Thanks for watching.